The 9th of July, Rabbi Furst, Mishna Berura.
Hey, good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst. Zoom. Okay, we are now learning Mr. Brewer, our second shir. We finished up Kuf Samek Zayin, and now we're in, just because there was a hemshik of the previous um, halacha, we're in Siman Kuf Pei. Siman Kuf Pei.
Kuf Pei. See if I can find that. Kuf Samach.
Further on in this.
Yeah. Kuf Ayin. Pei is after Ayin. Okay. Kuf Pei. Okay. I got Kuf Pei.
Okay, so we're in Sif Dalad. We're just jumping over here to the because you spoke in the previous halachas about the what you do with the bread that's left over. So we just want to do a couple of one siman here, and or maybe two. We'll just try and get a picture of what's going on here. Sif Dalad in Kuf Pei Sif Dalad. Alpha P.
All right. Should I read?
Yeah, if you like. Sure.
Afal P. She mutar le abed perurin she'ain bahem kazais. Okay, so afal P, yeah, even though shamutar, that it's permitted, the abaid, I don't know the abaid,
That's to destroy.
to destroy perurin, produce,
Perurim are breadcrumbs.
breadcrumbs. If there is not a kazayas, so you're allowed to throw out the breadcrumbs.
Right.
Miko makom kasher la nius. Nevertheless, kasher, it's difficult.
That's right.
La nius, I don't know la nius.
That's poverty.
Poverty. Oh, like an ani. Okay. Uh, it's
Right. So even though according to the letter of the law, it's permissible to destroy crumbs of bread which are less than a kazayas, nevertheless, it's still difficult to be wasteful in such a fashion because it's going to lead to poverty.
uh-huh. Okay, Mishnah Berura.
Yes, please.
Kasher la'anius. It's difficult because of poverty. V'dafka lidros alehem dehu bezuya gadol. Specifically, what's lidros?
Lidros is to step on them.
Step on them. That it is a disgrace, a big disgrace.
Right.
Wow. Mashlichan L'mayim. But you can put them in water.
Right. That's meaning what's the we're worried about that you're going to come to step on the breadcrumbs. Our mashlichim l'mayim, if you want to throw them into water,
Afilu kishe ne'evadim al yidei ze ein chashash kevan shehu pachos migazayis. Okay, but kishe mash lichan, I don't know.
but when he's going to throw them,
In the water, even kishenechadim, I don't know that one.
the same word ovdim, even if they'll be destroyed, al yidei zeh, through
Destroyed
this,
through this um, throwing them in the water. Ein chashash, we're not worried because of this. That because it is less than a gazayas. Sheyesh,
right? So therefore, since if the crumbs they themselves are each less than a kazayas, throwing them into water, if they'll be destroyed by throwing them into water, that won't really be a problem.
mach mirin, sheyesh harbe perurim, v'yitz tarfu the kazayis. Those who are strict, that when there is a lot of breadcrumbs, what's yitz tarfu?
That they will combine.
They'll combine and be more than a zayas.
Right. So let's say you have on the table, and there are a lot of crumbs, small pieces of bread and crumbs. So you gather them all together, so you've got them more than a kazayas. So you have to be careful. And also on the floor, yeah, on the floor, many times you have a lot of crumbs on the floor, especially you have children, grandchildren, and the like coming over. They're not so careful about letting the food drop onto the floor. So you'll find that there's many times lots of crumbs on the floor. So if you sweep it all together, you'll have more than a kazayas. So that'll bring you into this discussion as whether or not you should be machmir about destroying them or not. Because if it's question as to whether or not it's one piece kazayas or even if they will all join together to combine to be a kazayas. So they're machmirim that if it's going to join to be a volume of a kazayas, you have to be careful and decide what you're going to do with it. Very, have to be very cautious what you do with your leftover bread. That this is what we're discussing based on the end of Kuf Samach Zion. Maybe we'll go back to this Kuf Samach Zion in a moment, but here you see that it's dependent as to whether or not there's a kazayas and there's a machlokas, whether or not it has to be one piece kazayas, or even if they're going to join together and combine to be a volume of a kazayas. That would also perhaps be inclusive in the prohibition here. So you have to be careful. In general, if you have more than a kazayas worth of bread in any form, that you may be obligated to be very careful about what you do with this leftover bread. Um, Throwing it into, stepping on it certainly is going to be forbidden, and even disposing it of in water is not going to be so simple. So then, what do you do? Because as we see, If you want to turn back to Kuf Samak Zion, go back to Kuf Samak Zion.
I have one suggestion
Yeah, go ahead there, sure.
because I do this at my son's house. All the crumbs on the cutting plate, when they serve the chicken soup, I gather them up and put them in the chicken soup.
Well, that's very good. Right. There you're doing you're preventing the problem from ever occurring. You're using and eating. Very good. That's perfect. Question is, once you finish your meal and there's all kinds of crumbs on the table on the floor, what are you gonna do with those crumbs now?
Yeah, that's an issue.
All right.
Well,
So
especially
as you
the
see,
ones
if
on
you
the
go back,
floor, because you're not going to eat the ones on the floor.
right, you're certainly gonna eat them. So the question is, what are you gonna do with them? If you sweep them together and gather them up, right? Um, so it might be a kazayas. If it's less than a kazayas, then it's really nothing. One possibility is if you put them in a bag, and then that bag you can put into a garbage bag. If you double bag it, then it's not considered
Oh,
to be,
okay.
um, we'll discuss that in a moment. But let's go back to Kuf Samek Zayin. Kuf Samek Zayin, at the very end there.
Sif Kuf,
Kuf Samek Zayin,
yeah. What's Sif?
Sif Cotton. Yeah, Chaf, and we can look at the chart, see, look at, excuse me, the Mr. Brewer Sadi Zion, the last Sif cotton there.
Tzadi
Yeah, the
Zion.
Slaw is talking about, the Slaw is talking about finishing, when you finish your meal, you should have it, the last thing you should eat is a piece of bread. But go ahead, you can read that too.
All right, so it says Kodem. I guess
Right,
before, etc. Kasav Shla uh, Shagam Yishaer Min Perusas Ha-Motzi Me'at. It's written by the Shlah that also you should leave from uh, Perusas is the crumbs.
well, that prusa is the piece of bread that you made homotzi on.
From the bread hamotzi of that you said motzi on me'at a little bit sheyachol achar achi laso uh, that you're able afterwards to eat it.
Right, they should eat from, you should have from the hamotzi that you originally made, you should have some left over at the end of the meal, and you should eat from them at the very last thing of that you're going to eat from the meal.
Today sheyishaer ta'am hamotzi befiv. In order that there should remain the taste of the bread of motzi in your mouth.
Right. Okay, so that's one point. Now this is the point which is relevant to what we just discussed here.
Ein leha'achil leave libehema v'of o lichusi mi perusas hamotzi. You should not uh, eat. You should not feed your animal or your bird or a kuti, a non-Jew, uh, uh, from the bread of motzi.
Right.
Oh ma meha meha sicha shenogas ba chatsichas hamotzi.
But that's chatichas, the piece of hamotzi. Chaticha is the piece of hamotzi.
Hatzichas is a piece. And what is this word meha chatzicha? Oh, it's the same thing? A
Yeah,
piece?
mina chaticha, chaticha, haticha, from the piece.
And what is shenogas?
That it's or hachaticha shenogas ba chaticha, or the piece from which from the from that which you cut off, which was attached to the piece of hamotzi. Nogas that was attached.
Noga is attached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Hayinu de me osa perusa shechasach mikodem me halechem hashalem. And it is what is Deme Osa?
That's also prusa is coming from that self-same piece that you cut previously from the whole loaf that was cut afterwards.
From the full loaf. It was cut from the full loaf.
Right.
Chosech achar kach min osa perusa ha sicha kitana lehamotzi.
Right. That was the piece which you would make the hamotzi from. So that piece which you had made a mochi from, you have to be very careful not to feed it to the animals or the birds or the goyim.
V'gam osa perusa lo ya'achi lame. And also that piece you don't eat.
Don't feed it to the animals or the goy or the birds.
Oh, don't feed. Okay. She'ein kavod b'zeh leha mitzvah. That it's not proper honor to the mitzvah.
Right.
So you can give the
Therefore,
crumbs to the dog.
right. So you should so you can't give the leftover pieces from the part you made a motzi on, shouldn't give them to animals or goyim birds to eat. Rather, you should finish it yourself. Or as I said, sometimes if you put it into two bags, it's okay. You definitely shouldn't spit on it or destroy it or throw it into water. But you should, if possible, one possibility of just disposing of it properly, honorably, is to put it in a double bag. Then you can dispose of it as you like. Okay, very good. Let's see. Tomorrow I think we'll start, if you'll switch to Chelik Vav in the Mishnah Berura, I think we'll maybe start during the laws relevant to the 3 weeks, which will be beginning on Yom Rishon.
Okay,
So,
switch to both.
yeah, switch to your volume number 6.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Great. Okay, thank you for the reading, Lou, and thank you,
Yes.
Mayor, as well.
Thank you,
And you both
Yeshikoach,
have
Lou.
joined.
Look to
We
you.
should both have a good afternoon, and hope to see you tomorrow.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you too. Shalom, bye.